Sorry.
You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back. Katy.
Yes.
Would you like to open your present?
I would love to.
Great, I'm so excited. This is the one I was most excited about. Since we're talking about birthdays. Or we were. We'll probably cut all that off. Beautiful, beautiful. I hope that falls in your wine. But doesn't knock it over onto my carpet.
Glad the tissue paper wouldn't do some serious damage. All right. A clothing item.
You know I love to get you sweatshirts. Apparently.
And I love to wear sweatshirts because I'm always cold.
I forgot that I had gotten you the murder cabin one until just a second ago. I was like, oops. I saw that.
Yes.
I just really thought of you.
This is me to a T. So we'll try and get a picture of this for sure. But it's a green sweatshirt. And there's a skeleton in a coffin. And it says, never better. And the skeleton is giving a thumbs up. And this is definitely my life right now. I have been awake since 3 a.m. the past 2 mornings.
Ew. Gross.
So like I said, we went up to the cabin this weekend. Uh-huh. And, Walker had his own room. Mm-hmm. But he was the only thing in the room.
Oh, gosh.
So it's really echoey.
That you know of.
Yeah, that we know of. But it was really echoey. So his cries were like echoey and loud.
Oh, gosh. Do you want to borrow the soundproofing foam that we used to have up in here?
Once we get, a rug and some other furniture in there, it'll be a lot better. But yeah, no, I also have a thing about my first night in a new place or just a different bed kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Even if I've, when I go to my in-laws' house, I've been there dozens of times.
Yeah.
And I still struggle to sleep, at least the first night, if not both nights.
I feel like this is what happened last week.
I'm pretty sure.
You had just come off of, like, a trip or something where you were like, and I couldn't sleep.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, like, once I got up and I fed him, or, just waited it out for him to cry himself back to sleep, I wasn't able to fully go back to sleep.
Yay.
And then we had to drive separately because Shelton had to drive the truck up with the dresser and TV and some other, furniture and stuff. And I had to drive the baby. And he wasn't happy during all of it.
Who, Shelton or the baby?
Well, I don't care about Shelton. His happiness. No, obviously that's not true.
But honestly, you can say whatever you want because Shelton doesn't
listen.
He
doesn't listen. The only time he listens, and this isn't every time either, but the only time he listens to the podcast is when he and I are driving somewhere together. Every now and then, it's like every 5th road trip, he's like, let's listen to an episode of the podcast. I'm like, sure, what podcast? Sometimes he says this one. Aww. Sometimes he says the dollop or something else. He's like, why don't we put on a dollop? And I'm like,
you're like, I co-host a podcast. It's fine. It's whatever.
I'm putting this bad boy on.
Oh, okay.
Right now. I
did consult him for sizing because for some reason I can never remember.
What size is it?
It's a large.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Because the medium would have been fine, but before pregnancy, I was a medium with like some room for comfort. Yeah. Now I'm like, I'm a medium.
Well, and I also think the last
time
I'm
a large for comfort.
I think the last time I bought you a sweatshirt too, you were pretty pregnant. And so I texted him and I was like, what size sweatshirt should I get for a non-pregnant Katy? And he was like, medium or large if you want it to be loose and cozy.
You can never, I feel like you just can't have too big of a sweatshirt.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I'm glad I went with the large too. Cause...
Yeah. T-shirts, shorts, pants, all of that.
Yeah.
You can definitely do too big. Sweatshirts can never do too big. Flannels can't do too big.
Oh my gosh, flannels.
This is...
Yay!
It's perfect.
I love
so
it.
Soft.
Can I get a picture of it real quick? Yeah. So I don't forget. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Never better. I probably gonna wear this tomorrow. Especially when I drop Critter off at daycare.
You're like, I'm doing great. Never better.
Everything's awesome.
Everything's wonderful.
Speaking of daycare, one of his teachers is leaving.
Oh no.
She got a job as a teacher's aide at the elementary school.
Oh.
So, I got her a little going away gift. So I got a little, travel hot cold thermos thingy with a straw. And then, like, a pack of crayons, some colorful pins, some sticker books.
Ooh.
So I'm just like, one thing for her and a couple things. I'm like, these are just like little teacher essentials. Like, teachers can never have enough pins. She's a teacher's aide for an elementary school. She gonna use crayons. Yeah. Stickers are always a hit with the kids. Like, surely she'll enjoy these things, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about a picture frame for, they take pictures and she'll print out pictures and they paste them on the door. And on the bulletin board outside the door, they've got pictures of the teachers. And the picture of this teacher is a picture of her and Walker.
Aww.
And we've got that same picture of her and Walker on her fridge. So I was going to put that in a frame.
Yeah, that's sweet. I love picture frames as gifts. Like, that's one of those things that once I start looking for nice picture frames, I'm like, ugh. I wish someone would gift me my one that is
down, making sure, because
my one that has been my my office, like my desk on my what am I trying to say? My at the office obligatory like wedding picture for my dad, like my nice frame picture on my desk, was a going away present from one of my previous jobs. And like, it's not super fancy, but I was like, oh, this is nice. I would, and it was probably like $7, but it was one of those things where like, I would look at it and be like, oh, this is nice. Ugh, I shouldn't spend $7 on a frame for myself. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Also, what size shoe do you wear?
7.5 to 8. Why, what size shoe do you wear?
Bigger than that. No, I'm...
I was like, can we share?
I knit hats for everyone, like, the past couple of years, and now everyone has a hat. So obviously they don't need another one, even though hats are way faster and easier to do. I
always love hats.
Next gifts for everyone, and this is not a guarantee that you'll get it this year. It's like a rotation because these take a while, but socks.
Ooh!
So I'm knitting everyone's socks, but again... So that's why I'm getting everyone's shoe size. So, you might get socks this year. You might get them next year or the year after.
Totally fine.
Whenever I've got time.
Yeah.
I have a 6-month-old. I was able to knit a little bit this weekend.
Totes fine.
I'd be able to knit more, honestly, if I didn't read so damn much.
Ugh, gosh, you and your bad habits. I would like to start...
Oh! Anyway, go ahead. Oh. You want to start. I'm sorry. I want to just bullshit.
Well, I was gonna start this episode. First of all, let me hand you
my dog CA.
Dog CA. Don't look at it yet. I spelled it right?
I think so.
No, I didn't look it up. When I typed it to you, it didn't tell me it was wrong, so.
Yeah, that's how I would spell it for sure.
I'm sure you noticed when you came up to my house that we have put out some more decorations, right? So, as I was adjusting our newest spooky cobwebs, which, by the way, we got a new light. You'll see when you leave. It's a legit black light. It looks hella cool.
Because I thought it was going to be the red light that y'all were installing when I came last time.
No. I ordered some on the interweb. And it looks really cool. And we have orange lights up. And so it's like purple and orange. It looks really cool. Anyways...
Would you believe I haven't done any Halloween decorating yet?
I would believe it, because you have a army crawling 6-month-old. 6.5-month-old.
Honestly, by the time this episode comes out, I think he'll be 7 months. Or maybe a week shy.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, Tali's half birthday is next weekend. Okay. Not okay with any of this. Anyways, while I was doing that, a neighborhood child rode his bike by and he said, I like your Halloween decorations. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Me too. Which makes me feel justified in why I am jumping ahead. I couldn't wait till Halloween to put out a Halloween-themed episode.
It's spooky season.
It's spooky season.
I'm wearing a sweatshirt, and not just because it's always an icebox in your house.
This is true. It's like a little chilly.
When we were in the mountains, it was straight up, like, cold.
Cold?
Shelton and I were sitting on the front porch last night to look at the stars, because you can see stars in our cabin.
Uh-huh.
And both of us were like...
Yeah, it's nice. I'll do some more as we get a little closer, but I couldn't help myself. It's officially spooky season. It's officially fall. We had our second day of fall where it was like in the low 70s. Just like,
meanwhile, people who live elsewhere are like, that's what you consider fall?
Listen.
That's like summer nights.
No. Summer nights are like high 80s.
Yeah.
We're
a nice summer evening, like a balmy summer evening, is like 85.
Okay, so you're very integral to this episode. So
I just thought I was here to look pretty.
No. So I would actually...
I don't do that job very well most of the time.
I would actually like you to go ahead and open up your dossier.
My dossier.
And I'm going to have you read from us a highlighted portion of an article. Go ahead and tell us the date that I have written up there.
10/31/83. So that is Halloween Day, 1983.
Correct.
Can I read the headline as well?
Yes.
A night of treats, not tricks. So, I mean, that's actually a positive.
Yes.
So it's setting us up for something.
Well, this is a Dear Abby column.
I see that.
Just go ahead and read your highlighted portion there.
Okay. Put on my best Dear Abby voice. Dear readers, it's Halloween again, and time to remind you that somebody's child will be seriously injured or killed in a Halloween-related traffic incident. Somebody's child will be badly maimed or fatally burned due to a flammable costume. No cap, as the kids say. My brother caught fire.
Oh, gosh.
Somebody's child will become violently ill or die after eating poison candy or an apple containing razor blades. Yeah, legit grew up with the whole scare factor of razor blades in the apple thing. My mom for sure warned of that. I was never able to... Hannah's raising her glass. Does that mean...
That is the theme of the episode.
Razor blades in the apple?
Yeah!
Yes!
We're doing a local lore, finally! Yay! Like a real one! Like an urban legend about Halloween.
So, yeah, no, I mean, like I told you in before, I think it was in the Satanic Panic episodes, my mom 100% made sure that our cat, who was not a black cat, but he was a very dark-colored striped tabby, he was not allowed out of the house, even though he prowled the neighborhood every night. He was not allowed out on Halloween or New Year's.
Smart.
But Halloween because she didn't want him to be murdered for satanic reasons.
Fair.
And I was also, not that I think I was ever offered a, like, you know, caramel apple or something like that. But definitely I remember the fear-mongering of the razor blades in the apple.
Right.
And then also the whole Halloween costume catching on fire. My brother, who's not my real brother, we just grew up together. He was also a police officer in New Orleans. Have I told this story before?
I don't think so. Of him catching on fire?
Uh-huh.
No.
So he's a police officer in New Orleans.
Okay.
And, you know, we'd gone out a couple of nights before, went bar hopping, had a grand time. And then it was Halloween night, and he was off doing, I don't even know what, because we already hung out together. And I woke up the next morning with several text messages and, you know, a couple of missed calls from his brother, because, again, not really related, that said, call me when you get this. It's about Dave.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, what in the actual hell? Like, I'm thinking, my brother, David's out and about on Halloween. Either he's on duty or maybe he's even off duty.
Right.
And he saw something going down and tried to intervene and he got shot. And oh my God, my brother is dead or in a hospital on life support. I don't know what's going on.
Hopefully the message would be slightly more urgent sounding if that were the case.
And so I call Allie, his wife, and I'm like, JD has tried to call me and send me some text messages like, what happened? Like, is David okay? And she's like, oh, he's fine. He just caught on fire. And I'm like, what? Yeah, no, we're in Baton Rouge now at the burn unit. Like, he had to get, I don't know if he got airlifted or if he just took a ambulance ride, but he got 3rd-degree burns on his hands and forearms, 2nd-degree burns on his upper arms and face.
Jeez.
Because Allie was Little Bo Peep.
Oh, no.
And she wanted him to be Woody. But because
no.
my brother's ever the contrarian, he was like, no, screw that. I'm going to be a sheep.
Oh, no.
So he wore a painter's suit and had cotton balls that were attached to his suit with spray adhesive.
Oh, no.
And so they were at a Halloween party, and he was reaching over a snack table that had open flames. And I think he had, recently reattached, because, like I said, we'd gone out a couple of nights before.
Yeah.
And he was lighting his cigar pipe, whatever, right by his face with a big open flame, no problem. But I think he had, reattached some of the cotton balls, so he had, fresh spray adhesive on him.
Jeez.
And he wasn't even, like over the open flame.
Oh, no.
I think he was, he was close enough that, the heat transferred, and he just went up, like a fireball. And stop, drop, and roll does not always work, because he stopped, dropped, and rolled, and did not work.
Oh my gosh.
He's, running to the bathroom, trying to rip his costume off.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, Allie, is also trying to help get the costume, get the fire off of him.
Yeah.
So she had some 1st and 2nd-degree burns on her hands, too. But yeah, he was in the hospital for over a month because he actually had to have skin graft.
Ooh.
And again, he's a police officer, so, first thing after I heard from Allie and that they were okay, I'm like, they've been in the hospital all night and they're at Baton Rouge. So I went and took care of their dogs for them. This is before they had the keypad on their door, and I had to climb through the dog door to take care of their dogs. And then I went up to Baton Rouge to see him, and I walked into the room and I'm like, did somebody burn the bacon? Get it? Cops, pigs. Anyhow.
Could have made a joke about, lamb chops or something.
Could do that, too.
But, your thing was funny, too. Well, I'm not going to be talking about flammable costumes.
No, we're talking about razor blades and apples.
Yeah!
Wahoo!
So, funny enough, that article from 1983 was... So, Dear Abby wrote almost the exact same thing in 1991, but they took the reference to the poison candy / razor bladed apples out. Also, well, we'll see, because I'm going to talk about the truthfulness or not of that. I also put a note in here, which I guess I didn't actually look into this part. Have you heard I feel like the one that is more prominent now is that, people are giving out candy that is, laced with LSD or, is actually edibles or something. To which I just would like to say, no one's doing that. Those are very expensive.
I was about to say, who has the money for that?
Also, yeah. Also, no one's...
I'm not sharing my edibles.
I'm not either. They're very expensive.
That was... You were at my birthday party the year that got me the Nerds rope, right?
No, wait. No. Did you not share that? Or was...
No, I shared it with and everyone else.
Was it an edible?
100%.
Oh, okay. I was...
So, a serving size is an eighth of the rope.
I love the serving size of an edible.
And that really would have done us just fine. But I split it down the middle, and he ate half and I ate the other half. And I'm just sitting there just uncontrollably laughing at everything and nothing. And I remember literally, like, holding my ribs in.
Because they were going to fall out.
No, it wasn't that kind of high. It was just like, I couldn't stop
I'm sorry.
laughing.
Doesn't marijuana make you hallucinate and murderous?
Not that strain. Not whatever was in that nerd's rope.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I just sat there and laughed my ass off for hours.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so gosh, I feel like we're so off course already. We're going to talk about, that's okay, the myth of people poisoning Halloween candy. Why it became a myth, if there's any truth to it.
So you're saying they were myth-taken?
Perhaps. Maybe. I wish I could think of puns quicker. Oh, man. All right. So I'm going to work forwards. We're not working backwards on this one. So that article was in 1983. We are now going to jump to 1959. You don't get to look at your dossier yet. Because they couldn't find a thing for this one. All right. In 1959, there was a California dentist named William Shine. And he handed out, on Halloween, 450 candy-coated laxatives. For unknown reasons. Some people speculated that he just hated children. Or some people thought maybe he was trying to teach kids a lesson about candy being bad for you. Eat this candy, it'll give you the shits. I don't know.
I mean, as a dentist, you kind of want people to have tooth issues, right? So, eat your candy. Come see me. I will drill those cavities out. No problem. I will charge you through the nose. So that logic doesn't track for me.
It really doesn't. So 30 kids ended up getting sick, which I think just means ended up having the poops. No one got
Well, they make chocolate-flavored laxatives, do they not?
I don't know. I've never taken a laxative in that form.
I feel like I had a teacher tell me a funny story once about when they were a kid that they thought that they found some chocolate and they ate a couple of laxatives and they spent the next lots of time on the toilet.
I don't know. But no one got, seriously injured.
It was more of a prank than...
Correct.
A crime.
Right.
It was a crime because they were medicated without their consent, but...
Yes. So he was charged with outrage of public decency and unlawful dispensing of drugs.
So that one's fine. Get the first one.
And he actually fled police, and there was a short manhunt. And that stoked public fear a little bit, but
Did they find him in the bathroom?
No. I would have had a lot more visuals for you if I had just subscribed to the New York Times, by the way, because they will not show you a lot of their articles unless you subscribe for...
We're subscribed. You should have texted Shelton.
Damn it.
Next time you get a New York Times source, send the link to Shelton.
Oh, okay. I almost texted him for some poison-related questions, and then as I was researching it, I was just getting sad, because, spoiler alert, it gets real sad later on in this episode.
There was definitely mention of somebody's child violently ill after being poisoned.
Yeah, just be aware. It does get real sad later. And I texted Jarek.
This headline 100% is wrong. It's a night of tricks, not treats. That's what she's talking about. She's talking about tricks, not treats.
She's saying, in order to have a night of treats and not tricks,
remember all these horrible things.
Do these things.
To avoid these horrible things.
Yeah. So, anyways... I ended up not texting Shelton because I was getting too sad, and I texted Jarek, and I was like, I'm really sad, and I think I need to snuggle with Kelly when I get home, because this is sad research. Okay, so it was 1959. In 1964, in Long Island, New York, two children named Elsie, let me make sure I have that right, Yeah. Elsie and Irene Drucker. And they were 13 and 15, respectively. They were sisters. They came home from a night of trick-or-treating, and they dumped their candy to see what they had gotten. Mm-hmm. And among their candy, they saw 2 items that looked not like the others. So you may now look at page 2 of your dossier.
Also, even though as an only child, I totally understand the whole, you get home and you gotta compare, right?
Yes.
You gotta be like, well, not only compare what you got, but, what's your favorite Halloween candy?
Reese's Cups. Sorry, Reese's Pumpkins.
Okay. What's your second favorite Halloween?
Reese's Cups? I don't know.
What's your, other than anything in the Reese's family, what do you want after that?
Why am I not allowed to have Reese's?
Because that's my favorite.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. God, you'd be such a mean sister.
See, that's what that's what I'm getting at here, is that obviously you and I could not be sisters, because I think my next one would be Butterfingers.
Oh no, I hate Butterfingers.
Okay, so I would take all of your Butterfingers.
Okay, and then...
You could have all of my Snickers.
Oh, what about Three Musketeers?
I like Three Musketeers.
Damn it, okay.
That's my third one. And I know that they're my third because of the 3.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
So, I know my candy
what about peanut
hierarchy.
M&Ms?
You have all of the peanut M&Ms.
All right, fine.
I'll give you all of my peanut M&Ms. I will take all of your Butterfingers.
Okay, but I'm going to bargain for the Reese's Pumpkins.
I will fight you for the Reese's Pumpkins.
Okay, if you want all of my Butterfingers, then we're going to bargain.
You just said you hated Butterfingers.
Maybe I like them.
You're more than happy to see them go, just like I'm more than happy to see the peanut M&Ms go.
Okay. Tell me what you see on the page there.
It looks like a bottle cap.
Great. What does it say?
Ant buttons. Kills ants, flies, insects, roaches, mice. So yeah, it looks like a bottle cap. Oh, look here. It even says on the bottom, keep away from children and pets.
Yes.
Poison. Moisten daily with a few drops of water. Stir until dissolved. Must always be kept wet.
Gross.
Question.
Yes.
Another very popular, common Halloween candy that I remember from when I was growing up was bottle caps.
Oh.
A candy that I had a love-hate relationship with.
Because, this back page of your dossier. I might have accidentally given you,
This is number 2.
Close your eyes for a second.
Anyway.
Sorry, that's for a bonus episode. You don't get to look at that.
Okay. I just put it there so I don't accidentally look at it.
There you go.
So yeah, bottle caps. I liked the orange cola ones, right? But then there was like the regular cola flavored.
Gross.
Which Coke is gross. And anything that's cola flavored is Coke in my brain, but worse. So, and it was like a weird, like, it was like if Alka-Seltzer was a candy.
Ew.
You know what I mean? How it like fizzed and dissolved, but it was also chalky.
Ew.
It was like Alka-Seltzer, like chewing an Alka-Seltzer meets, like, had a weird love child with a Tums and then tried to make it soda flavored.
Gross. I never got to go
But at the
trick-or-treating,
same
so I never had it.
That's why you were struggling to think of your Halloween candy favorites.
I know, because my mom would just get me my, like, candy I liked. She didn't believe in trick-or-treating. It's fine. I just buy all the candy I like now, so it's fine.
We buy our candy, and I always put aside a big handful of. So Shelton loves Snickers, so I put a couple of Snickers away, and I put away the Reese's, the Butterfinger, and if a variety pack comes with York peppermint patties, those are put away. Also, the Three Musketeers. So I put away a handful.
Yeah,
but like the Hershey's, the M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, those can go to the kids.
Yeah,
I can live without those. So this is a bottle cap of poison.
Yes. So that is in their Halloween candy. So the girls, Elsie and Irene, are very smart, and so they show
Don't eat it?
No, they don't eat it.
Good.
They show their father, and their father immediately calls the police.
Dad of the year.
I know, right? Smart dad. The ant buttons were a common pesticide in the 60s, I guess. They contained arsenic. So the police immediately notify neighbors, and so all of the parents start like checking their kids' candy. 19 more of these buttons were found in Halloween candy. So,
were they all able to trace them back to the same neighborhood?
Yes. So, meanwhile, the girls, Elsie and Irene, were able to help police, like, figure out where they got them from.
Yeah, this was our route.
Yes. So, they kind of traced their steps back to 43 Salem Ridge Drive. And at this home lives a woman named Helen Feel, or File. It's P-F-E-I-L. I think it's File. She's 47. She lives there with her husband and children. Police are like, "Hi, Helen, can we come in?" And she's like, "Sure."
Trick or treat. Can you give us some evidence?
And they find empty boxes of ant buttons in her kitchen. And so they're like, "Helen, you're under arrest."
You know this isn't candy, right?
So
it's bug candy, not human people candy.
Right. So Helen is arrested. She's arraigned on November 2nd and charged with child endangerment. None of the children had actually eaten the candy, which was... not the candy. Had eaten...
Again, bug candy.
Yes, had eaten the very clearly marked poison. She explained, she's like, "Oh, well, it wasn't meant to be malicious. It was meant to be just a little prank to show her disapproval for children that she thought were too old to be trick-or-treating." Do you want to know how old she thought was too old?
7.
12 and older.
So my disdain for trick-or-treaters is trick-or-treaters not wearing a costume.
Oh, yeah. You have to wear a costume to get candy.
However, where I live is literally on the right side of the tracks, because on the other side of the train tracks, literally immediately, is a lot of very low income households, and just beyond that is government assisted households. Right. So we get a lot of there's hardly any kids in my neighborhood. It's all old people. Yeah. And so most of the kids that we're getting are actually coming from this adjacent neighborhood. Yeah. And some of them are older, and early teens, 14, 15. And it's that awkward stage of we know we're too old to be trick-or-treating, but we're too young to do anything else. Yeah. So they're not wearing costumes, but then there's also even the younger kids too. A lot of them aren't wearing costumes, and a lot of times it's because they can't afford a costume. And so I never withhold candy from any kid that comes to my door on Halloween. Yeah. But that's my only disdain. Yeah. I don't care how old you are. Wear a costume. Are you 30 years old and you say trick or treat and hold out a basket for me? Are you in a costume?
I'm showing up to your house around Halloween in a costume, and I expect...
You've been at my house for every Halloween.
I expect there to be treats.
You've been in a costume for every year, and I always provide treats.
I know. I'm just saying. I saw a thing on Facebook today that was I forget how it was worded, but essentially... remember that if teenagers are coming to your door for trick-or-treating, they're choosing to go trick-or-treating instead of partying. Mm-hmm. So, instead of being mad at them for doing that, how about just, indulge them and,
Don't tell them they're too old to trick-or-treat.
Yeah, because they're gonna go find, other stuff to do when they feel like they're too old for that.
They're knocking on your door and asking, politely for
candy.
They are not egging your house. They are not TPing your yard. They are not getting drunk and endangering themselves or others.
Exactly. And honestly, so, our neighbor told us last night that we probably won't get any trick-or-treaters. But after that, very kind child told me he liked my decorations. So my plan is to go to Jenna's for Halloween because she lives in a neighborhood that probably will get trick-or-treaters because I like giving out candy. But I'm going to leave a bowl of candy with Jarek because... my house is, decked out for Halloween, which I feel is an open invitation. If there are kids in our neighborhood, it's hello, come to our house. We celebrate Halloween. Come here and you're...
It's basically a flashing neon sign. Candy. Free candy.
Yeah, free candy. Come here. With a black light.
You should just leave Jarek with a bowl of candy, but also a fresh cigar so that he sits outside so that when kids come to the door, Kelly doesn't scare them away with their bark.
She is very scary. Mm-hmm. Although, we had a guy, that car breaker-inner guy, he was back last night, and he did not wait for us to be asleep, and he just went right through Jarek's car, because Jarek didn't lock his car. And our neighbor across the street came and told us. He was really hyped up. He was like, I saw a guy, and he had a flashlight, and he was wearing a white shirt, and he was like looking in your car, and I thought it was Jarek, but then I saw it wasn't him, and he took off, and I went back to get my pistol, and then I came back, and I was like, whoa.
Well, and so that's why I was like, get Jarek a cigar so that he'll sit outside.
Yes. But anyways, Jarek and our other neighbor went like chasing the car burglar around. And then the police came, and then I got to be...
It was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing, and I was trying to watch a football game, and so, like, couldn't watch the police, like, searching yards with flashlights, and then they had to come talk to Jarek. It was a whole thing. All right, so Helen is mad, at kids who are older than 12 and older, for trick-or-treating, and so she thinks, what a hilarious prank to give kids poison. That'll teach them. So, ironically, her husband wasn't home at the time that she was distributing these arsenic treats.
I'm also curious as to why this was reckless endangerment of minors versus attempted murder.
That's a good point.
Just because, she's... Like, I would really like to know what the, like, legal differentiation there is.
Yeah.
Because, yes, she's not, like,
maybe because
holding a gun to their head that, like, misfires or something. She's offering it to them. But, like, if any of these kids did eat that,
yeah,
undoubtedly, they would die.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I feel like
I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure even a bottle cap sized amount of arsenic is gonna kill you.
Yeah. You're a scientist, though.
I am a scientist.
I feel like maybe it's because they were clearly marked as, like, poison, and she was saying, like...
Well, if they're, 12, then they're old enough to read and smart enough to not.
Do you want to know the reason her husband wasn't home while she was doing this?
Was he in the hospital recovering from arsenic poisoning?
Oh, no. He was out taking their teenage sons trick-or-treating.
That was my next guess.
Yeah. So her own children were, in her eyes, too old to be trick-or-treating. And they were doing that. Meanwhile, she was trying to poison the other children that were.
I mean... I'm also thinking about times that I've seen, like, 15-year-old kids out trick-or-treating. Like, sure, they have a bag full of candy, but they're at my front door with their, like, 5-6-year-old siblings.
Yeah.
So, like, they're the ones taking their younger siblings out trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
So, that's a reason number one for older children to be trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
And two... like I was trying to differentiate with us, which my whole plan was flawed because I forgot that you never went trick-or-treating.
Yeah, sorry.
That, like, siblings, they go home and they don't only compare their haul.
Yeah.
They make trades.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you like this candy. You like peanut M&Ms? I got 7 bags of peanut M&Ms over here. And you've got 5 York peppermint patties there.
Yeah.
We'll make a trade across the board. Or like, oh, yeah, I've got 3 Snickers, and you've got 3 Musketeers. Even across. Let's just do it.
I wish I could have done this.
I wish I could have 2, but I was an only child, so I was only stuck with what I got.
Now as adults, we just have complete control over what candy we get.
I get what I want.
Although now I know if I come to your house with some Snickers and some... What's your other one? Butterfingers? Ooh, I'm going to come with Butterfingers.
Come with Butterfingers, because I want all the Reese's and all the Butterfingers and the 3 Musketeers. Those are my top 3.
Okay.
Shelton likes the Snickers and the Almond Joys.
Almond Joys. I do like Mounds, though. Mostly just because I like dark chocolate and coconut.
I don't like coconut, but I have, in my, adultness of changing tastes, and also the fact that I always stuff Almond Joys in Shelton's stockings. I mean, Santa puts Almond Joys in Shelton's stocking,
It's okay,
and
Shelton.
he doesn't eat them fast enough, and I've eaten all of my candy, and there's still just candy there taunting me. I've started eating them.
Tough times. When times are tough, you do what you have to. I've been there. So Helen, just to wrap her story up real quick, she was eventually sentenced to 60 days in a psychiatric hospital. She avoided serious jail time thanks to some kind character witness statements that her neighbors provided. Her neighbors ended up just like being really kind people and decided to write character witness statements.
So my point, kind of going back to, because I don't think I fully nailed it, as to why it was reckless endangerment versus attempted murder is, yes, sure, it's clearly labeled as poison, but, and again, I'm an only child, but I have friends who have younger siblings who have 100% stolen their older siblings' Halloween candy.
Right.
So what's to stop a child who cannot read or just not paying very close attention from going into older siblings' candy?
You're right.
And eating something.
Or even just like keeping poison with other candy. I mean,
cross-contamination.
Yeah. I mean, you even have those commercials of like the Tide Pods look like candy. So like get the Tide Pods that have like the safety lock, which by the way, I had to finagle one of those open today, and in a household that didn't have children, so just hard to do. So, but like the idea of like a toddler who like sees something that fits in their hand and looks like candy, if they're seeing already things that look like, that are candy.
If it's literally in a pile, so like, you know, sure, the 14-year-old has gone out trick-or-treating and they've dumped out to start sorting their favorite candies and seeing what they've got.
Yeah.
And their younger sibling comes up who cannot read or is not observant enough, like not old enough to be observant to things, just sees a like foil wrapped goodie amongst all the other foil wrapped goodies.
Yeah.
They're just as likely to grab the poison as they are a candy.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
Maybe like reckless endangerment. I don't know the difference.
Oh, it was reckless endangerment.
It was
one
child endangerment. I don't know.
I thought it was reckless child endangerment.
Maybe you're right. Child endangerment is what I wrote.
Again, neither of us are lawyers. If anyone does have a law degree or has studied the law and can, differentiate, that would be swell.
So,
I would go with attempted murder, honestly. Maybe the prosecution went with that and the grand jury was like, you can't swing attempted murder, but reckless endangerment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Helen avoids jail time. Everything seems fine. But, unfortunately, Elsie Drucker was shaken enough by the whole event that she never went trick-or-treating again after that.
And she was only 13.
She was only 13. Which, again, I'm just... like, what else is there to do from the time that you were, like, 13 to the time that you were, like, 18? What is there to do on Halloween? Other than, like, go to probably not the best parties that you should be going to. Like...
That's my plan. When Critter's older.
Yeah.
I still want to have a Halloween party, but I will transition to having, kid-friendly Halloween parties.
Yeah.
Of, like...
Well, cause...
Yeah, it gives them something to do. But, we'll be upstairs, so no one's getting drunk. Right. But also, it's not parents hanging around. Like,
right.
Just doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why, a lot of, schools or churches and whatnot, and they'll do trunk or treat things.
Yeah. I did go to a lot of those. I went to, Fall Fest at church.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So, I don't know, I understand, because I remember there was a couple of times when I was in that, early teenage stage, where I was too old to trick or treat, too old or too young to really go to a party, but there was definitely something for me to do. But I did bad things instead, and my dad grounded me, and the ultimate punishment was grounding me on Halloween. So I couldn't trick or treat. I couldn't go to the Halloween sock hop, because that was probably the main thing I would have done.
The sock hop.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a dance. And so, but I stayed home and I gave candy out to the trick-or-treaters and watched scary movies.
Nice. Are you ready for your next dossier document?
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Very excited.
I'm organizing.
This is another one you get to read aloud. The highlighted portions.
Okay.
It's like a courtroom.
Miss Hunt, please.
All right, so you can read the title.
Those treats may be tricks.
And the date, please.
This is October 28th, 1970.
Right.
October 28th is the date I've arbitrarily ascribed to be Jory's birthday. My dog.
Oh, great. Happy birthday, Jory. Coming up. Now, Miss Hunt, if you will please read the highlighted portions.
Take, for example, that plump red apple that Junior gets from a kindly old woman down the block. It may have a razor blade hidden inside. The chocolate candy bar may be a laxative. The bubble gum may be sprinkled with lye. The popcorn balls may be coated in camphor. And the candy may turn out to be packets containing sleeping pills.
Which
I want to point out the typo of sleeping, pills.
Oh. By the way, that's not going to do you much good unless, like, it's your kid that you're giving that to.
I mean, also,
make
as long as it's
someone else-
not an overdose of the sleeping pills, I'm not complaining
You're
that
just
much,
making
right?
someone else's kid go to sleep.
In recent years, pins, razor blades, slivers of glass, and poison have appeared in the treats gathered by children across New York State.
I don't think that's true, but okay. Yes, so that is an article from October of 1970. 1 month later, in November of 1970, in Detroit, Michigan, which, sorry, I gave you the whole article in case you wanted to read it.
I might.
And you can actually now look at your next little headline. It's a little too blurry to read the article, but I'm going to tell you about it.
Okay.
Also, things are about to get real sad from here on out. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a picture of, what is this, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I can't remember. Can't read.
Totson.
Yeah. How old is Kevin?
Kevin's 5. I'm sorry.
Okay, so because it's a black and white photo from 1970 and it's like scanned and blurry, he looks both 5 years old and 50.
Yeah, it's not, and he's wearing glasses. He's wearing
Yeah.
like kind of Coke bottle glasses.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, he's
Yeah.
got the glasses that have like the plastic on the top, like the wire rim glasses.
Yeah.
And he looks both really adorable as a young kid, but
Yeah.
also like a little bit of a scared old man.
Yeah, I couldn't find any other pictures of him. So on November 6th, the New York Times reported that 5-year-old Kevin Totson had died after accidentally eating, quote, Halloween candy that was laced with heroin. This is a quote from that article. Analysis of some of the candy he had eaten showed that heroin mixed with quinine, did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Powder form had been sprinkled over it. The boy's mother, Miss Ida Foster, told the police that Kevin spent Monday night at the home of her brother, Henry Coleman. While there, he ate some of the Halloween candy he had collected. So, very tragically, this 5-year-old ate some of his Halloween candy, had a medical episode, was rushed to the hospital, died, and they found out after he died that the cause of death was an overdose of heroin that they believed came from his Halloween candy.
I imagine they did like a tox screen kind of a thing that looked for, regular like drugs, like recreational drugs, but also other potential poisons.
Yes. However, 2 days later, on November 9th, the New York Times printed another story. This one, I don't have one for that, sorry. This one said, quote, 5-year-old Kevin Totson, who died Friday of a narcotics overdose, apparently swallowed a capsule of heroin and not Halloween candy sprinkled with the drug, the police said today. So police, after a little bit of investigation, found that the amount of heroin found in his system was consistent with the amount that would be in a capsule, which I didn't know you could take heroin in a capsule, but I guess in 1970 you could.
I mean, you can encapsulate anything.
Yeah. But can you ingest? Well, I mean, I guess you...
Mm-hmm.
Can you ingest it to, like, get high? Or do you need to inject it into your bloodstream?
Again, not a doctor.
Get Shelton on the phone.
But I need to get Barry on the phone. So the purpose of injecting is it's going straight to your bloodstream.
Right. It's just faster.
So when you think about, like, drinking alcohol, it does get into your bloodstream because, you know, you have blood alcohol level.
Right.
And, you know, you can have a pint of beer or a glass of wine and not feel anything.
Right.
And then maybe by your second or maybe even your third or maybe as early as your first, you start feeling the effects of that alcohol.
Right.
The reason you go into the hospital, they give you an IV to start injecting drugs intravenously, anything directly into your bloodstream, because the way that your blood circulates, the effects hit you faster.
Gotcha.
So I have read stories, yes, obviously injecting heroin right into your bloodstream is the most common way. You know, like people, you can snort heroin because that's also very quick too. So like if you don't have access to a syringe and needle, snorting heroin is another really quick way of getting the drug into your blood system to get that instant gratification of the high rewards. But you can also, I think, rub it on your gums as a way of, again, you know, kind of like along the same lines of snorting, rubbing on gums. I believe you get that, it's that thin membranous tissue.
Right.
So it gets absorbed faster.
Right.
What is it? Sometimes taking pills. People will take pills and crush them like oxys.
Right.
They'll crush them into a powder. You can snort them, or you put that powder under. Again, this is another disclaimer time. Like, I'm providing information, and I am not encouraging anyone do this.
No.
Ever. But putting that crushed pill underneath your tongue, I think they call that parachuting.
Oh, I've never heard of that before. My mom should know that I've never done drugs before.
What kind of nurse is your mom again? You've told me before and I always forget.
All kinds. Was
she ever an ER nurse?
No. She's an OR nurse now, I think. Right, Mom? I don't know. She works at a surgery center.
I actually paused and waited for her to answer.
No, I don't think she ever worked in the ER. She was like a home health nurse for a while. I don't know what she did after that, but she works at a surgery center now, but never in ER.
In nursing school, she would have gotten her, you know, a wide variety of things, plus talking to other nurse friends and things, so she probably would know this answer, whether she directly...
I was just trying to prove to her that I've never done drugs before, if she ever thought I was lying to her about that. I have a lot of questions about things.
I also have never parachuted. It's just,
You just know the term.
I read a lot
Katy's
of things.
Dad, if you're listening.
I know a lot of things. No, I actually know the parachuting of drugs thing from a personal experience. Well,
of doing drugs.
A secondhand personal experience. I was at my grandmother's house.
Your grandmother was doing drugs. Oh my god.
My grandmother takes a lot of drugs, okay? She is 98 years old. She's got drugs morning, noon, and night, my friend.
Think of all the things I know now because of you.
I'm also talking about prescription medication.
I know. I've been thinking about our earlier conversation that we muted the mic for. Sorry.
Also, so I was at my grandmother's house just visiting one day, and I think we were in the kitchen, maybe cooking or preparing to cook or just hanging out, whatever, and all of a sudden the electricity goes out. I'm like, that's weird. All right. So, and I went outside to, I guess, you know, let Jory run around, and I heard, you know, noises and yelling. And so I go down the hill to the road, and she lives up kind of on the top of a mountain. It's, you know, it's a highway road, lots of curves and turns. Lots of accidents happen. But it's also very, very rural. And so I go down this steep hill to the driveway, and sure enough, there is a truck that has gone off the road and ran into a electrical pole.
Jeez.
And, like, the electrical pole is almost in the cab of the truck because that's how hard they hit this pole, which would also explain why the electricity is out.
Right.
And so there's some other neighbors around, and other people are waiting for first responders, and it was a really bad accident that later found out that the driver was under the influence because he was, quote, parachuting oxy.
Oh.
So it wasn't bad enough that he was taking oxys.
Right.
But this was, and I think I had to look it up. That,
right.
You know, somebody gave me that explanation. That's why I learned the term for parachuting.
And you were like, yeah. That makes sense. And then you went home and Googled it.
I did. Because I want to know all the things.
Absolutely.
And me wanting to know all the things means that I can relay things like this to you and make myself look bad, apparently.
I also had a thought, perhaps maybe this heroin was just being kept in a capsule, and, like, when it was time to be used, it was just going to be taken out of the capsule.
And that's another thing, is that it could be encapsulated for storage.
Yeah.
But, like, yes, you can ingest it, but, you know, eating something, your stomach would then have to break down the capsule, and then you would have to absorb it through your bloodstream. And I feel like, too, with all the stomach acid, I don't know how drugs like heroin would react with stomach acid. I mean, I'm sure you would still get one hell of a high.
Yeah.
And some fun side effects. But it's not the same instant, like, you know, you inject it into a vein, and, you know, that's why a lot of heroin addicts will overdose and die.
Right.
And they describe them, like, still with the syringe in their arm, because it is
instant.
It is instant.
Yeah.
From when you first started telling the story, I was like, the logic doesn't track. Heroin is very expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much it costs, but I know it's expensive.
Yeah. It's not something
nobody's just sprinkling it on candy.
Also, your candy would have to be unwrapped, just sitting unwrapped all in a bowl.
Also, if you're trying to just, like, provide a taste to get people hooked on it so that you're, like, increasing your client base, children is not the target market.
Children don't have any money.
Their piggy banks cannot support their heroin habit.
Children are not the ones you want to get hooked on the very, very expensive drugs. Yeah, very, very unfortunately, it turns out that that Kevin's uncle that he was staying with was
a heroin dealer.
Was someone who did heroin, and it was part of his stash that Kevin had gotten into. And the family...
Because he's 5, and everything looks like candy to a 5-year-old, which goes back to my whole Aunt Buttons thing of attempted murder versus reckless endangerment. Because younger kids, especially when they're like, candy, 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 they see something colorful foil wrapped when they're already like, everything is candy. That's candy. I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah. And the family did not press charges, which I don't know. It's
justice for Kevin.
I know. It's a sad situation. All right, it's just gonna get worse.
I wouldn't have. I don't know. I might have, depending on my relationship with said uncle. Especially if I knew he had a heroin problem.
Yeah.
I would have been like, I'm gonna press charges, or you can go to rehab and get yourself cleaned up.
Yeah. My guess is the family just probably wanted to put everything behind them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Glass houses. No, I don't have a glass house because I don't do heroin. What's the phrase I'm looking for? I'm not in that position, so I don't know how I would react in that situation.
I don't know if there's a metaphor for that.
I don't know either.
We'll think of it. And
I don't want to think too hard in this situation because the idea of anything happening to my son is just paralyzing.
So sorry about this next story. In 1974...
You bitch.
Listen, I'm sorry. I told you it was going to get worse. All right. You don't get to look yet. You have to wait.
Is there not a file for this one?
There is, but you don't get to look at it yet.
I won't. I'm just
Okay.
using the paperclip to my advantage.
Good. In 1974, in Pasadena, Texas, Ronald Clark O'Brien, who was 30, which is my age. Sorry, no, it's not.
Not anymore, it's not.
I was going to be like, it's our age, and not at all.
Our age and then some.
Yeah.
No.
Someone a little younger than us took his 2 children, Timothy, who was 8, and Elizabeth, who was 5, trick-or-treating with a neighbor and their 2 kids. And they get to one of the houses, and it was taking like a really long time for the person to answer the door, and the kids were getting impatient. And so Ronald was like, you guys go ahead, I'll wait here. Go ahead, like, to the next house. Mm-hmm. So when he finally catches up with them several houses later, and towards the end of the night, he shows them what he got at that house, and it was 5 of those big pixie sticks. Do you remember those? Like the big ones?
Mm-hmm, the big, like, plastic tubes.
Yeah, the 21-inch pixie sticks. He had gotten 5 of them from this house. So he gives 1 to each of his kid, 1 to each of the neighbor kids, because there's only 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
he keeps
then
the 5th one for himself to split with the other adult.
No, then he sees a kid he recognized from church, and he's like, hey, do you want this? So they get home, and Timothy, like any 8-year-old, is like, can I have some of my candy before I go to bed? And Ronald's like, sure, pick like one thing that you want. And so Timothy picks the giant pixie stick, right? Because it's the biggest.
Quantity over quality.
Smart. So he had some trouble getting the powder out. And so Ronald had to help him. But he gets it out, he eats it, and he complained that it tasted kind of bitter. And so Ronald was like, well, let me use some Kool-Aid, just wash the taste down, whatever. Mm-hmm. Didn't think anything of it. Almost immediately, Timothy begins to vomit and convulse. Ronald called 911, but unfortunately, Timothy died en route to the hospital. I'm sorry!
Do I get to guess the poison? Is that part of my game, too?
I mean, you can if you want to. Do you want to guess?
Was he frothing at the mouth?
Probably.
He's convulsing. What was the other?
Vomiting. I can tell you some other things that it didn't mention, but I know probably happened.
Is it strychnine?
No.
Was it arsenic?
No. He probably turned red afterwards.
Oh, I don't know that one. I don't know my poisons very well.
The pixie stick probably smelled of almonds.
I thought arsenic was almondy. No, cyanide.
Cyanide.
Dang it. That was the one I was trying to think of and couldn't remember, but I was also too sad after I said strychnine and arsenic.
So, his autopsy revealed that he had died from a lethal dose of potassium cyanide.
Way to go on including his adorable photo. Little blonde boy that could be my little blonde boy.
No, he doesn't look anything like your child, don't worry. And you're not going to give your kid...
Because he's like 8.
He doesn't have... No, your child looks exactly like you, and that doesn't look like you.
That's right, he doesn't look like me. But he's a happy little boy.
I know.
With teeth, because my boy has a tooth now.
Okay, stop it. Your boy's growing too quickly. I don't like it.
I know.
I liked it when he was in there.
Me too.
I mean, I like it better now that I get to hold him too, but...
And now, whenever he grabs your finger to chew on it, you'll feel a tooth.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Too much. All right, I gotta stop drinking and have a baby. All right, so...
You'll never be able to hide it from me. Not like I hid it from you.
I'm just gonna start drinking Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Like,
it's a whiskey lemonade. And you're like, bullshit, not 2 weeks in a row, it's not.
You're like, I know what color it should be. It's too yellow. You told me that. Okay. So, police are smart in this case, and they quickly trace the deadly cyanide to the large pixie stick that Timothy had consumed less than an hour before he died. And they immediately recover 4 of the 5 pixie sticks that had been given out. The parents of the 5th child, like the random kid that got one, they were notified they could not find this pixie stick in their kid's Halloween candy. Freaking out, obviously. They ended up finding it upstairs. Their child had gone to sleep holding it. He couldn't get it open. He had tried to get it open so he could eat it that night and couldn't. Right? Goosebumps.
I don't want to be one of those, like, super crazy, like, anal retentive parents of, like, let me police everything that you eat. But this, it's terrifying.
I have statistics at the end. They'll make you feel a little better.
Yeah. I don't want to be a statistic.
No, statistics are...
I don't want to be the 1 out of 6,000 that it happens to.
The statistics will make you feel better.
I don't want to be the 1 out of 6 million.
I also feel like it's kind of hard to get cyanide now. I don't know. Ask Sheldon. So pathology showed that all of the pixie sticks had been opened. They had the top 2 inches filled with cyanide powder before being resealed, and each stick contained enough cyanide to kill 2 to 3 adults. Yeah. So Ronald Clark walked police through the neighborhood 3 times, showing them the route that they took trick-or-treating and the house where he got the pixie sticks. He said the house hadn't turned the lights on. He said the person who had handed him the pixie sticks hadn't opened the door all the way. He didn't see their face. He just saw their arm. It was like a hairy arm.
That's also like a universal thing. If the light's not on, don't knock on the door. Exactly. That is a symbol for we're not home or we're not handing out candy.
Yeah. So, police obviously investigated the house, and they found that it belonged to an air traffic controller named Courtney Melvin. Courtney was at work that night until 11 o'clock, and there were over 200 people who could vouch for this fact. So police continued to dig, and then they found out that Ronald had over $100,000 in debt, which is about $500,000 today. He was about to be fired from his job. His car was about to be repossessed. He had defaulted on several loans. His house was being foreclosed on. And he had taken out several life insurance policies on both of his children recently. Yeah.
You don't have a life insurance policy on a child.
I know.
Like, how is that even legal? Like... Am I wrong? Am I not a proper adult to think that the purpose of life insurance is so that, like, if you die, your dependents can have some sort of financial cushion or assistance.
It's not so that you're, like, young, healthy children.
Because my 5-year-old is not providing a financial contribution to our household.
Yeah.
My 5-year-old is a fucking burden. Financial burden. Like, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
I don't need assistance if something happens to my 5-year-old or 8-year-old child.
Yeah. Also,
I need therapy.
How are we this far in and, like, life insurance policies don't have, like, a thing where they're like, hey, if someone calls, like, and, like, increases the amount of life insurance multiple times within, like, I don't know, 6 months, you're, like, obligated to notify someone, like,
or do a little bit more investigating. Like, also the fact that I feel like I could probably put in a life insurance policy on you.
You probably could.
Because I'm thinking about H.H. Holmes here and how, like, one of his biggest things was life insurance policies and insurance fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, on top of all the murder.
On top of, like, the taking pleasure in murdering people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, I'm thinking that maybe it's the insurance companies that are the real criminals here. Well, I mean, again, entirely hypothetically, like, if I were able to just take out a life insurance policy on you, I don't think you would ever actually have to know about it.
I don't think No, I don't think I would.
And then if something happened to you, like, as long as I'm paying the insurance company every month for that policy,
Yeah.
something happens to you, they'll pay out to me. Because, I mean, I paid... Right? That's sketchy as hell.
That is really sketchy.
It's the first time I've actually thought in depth about life insurance.
Is a life insurance broker? Provider? Broker? Dealer? I don't know what to call them.
At this point, after we've decided they are sketchy as hell, they are dealers.
Let us know how that works. Although my financial advisor, I don't have an assistant. Sorry, my financial advisor did tell me I need a life insurance policy, which is kind of a bummer.
But your life insurance policy, you'll be able to get more for less than Jarek, I imagine.
Yeah. But
Jarek's a bad risk assessment.
Yeah, he is.
Sorry,
although
Jarek.
I think we're close. We're like 2 years away from him like being like
clear.
Like, okay. But he was
that pre-existing condition thing.
I know.
Being wiped.
But he was like, yeah, you probably should have like a term life insurance or something, at least to cover your debts in case you die. And I was like, I have to start thinking, I need a life insurance policy that'll pay off my house and my funeral expenses if I die. That's such a bummer. I mean, like, good if I die that Jared can pay off the house. That's great for him.
Well, I mean, so, recently, not super recently, like a year ago, my grandfather passed.
Uh-huh.
And my uncle and I are the only surviving beneficiaries of his. And he told me, he's like, there was money for me. I mean, it was ultimately, I think, originally named for my mother, who obviously has passed, therefore making me the beneficiary.
Right.
And so when my uncle was telling me about there's money, but basically he was like, it all got eaten up in funeral costs. Oh, man. And of course it happened during the pandemic to where I couldn't actually travel to go to my own grandfather's funeral. But again, also, I don't give a shit if anyone's left any money from me.
Yeah.
I am left with the memories that I have of my grandfather, and that is more than enough. But then I recently got a letter, but I did have to fill out some paperwork or whatever for the insurance company. But again, it was my uncle being like, yeah, no, there is some money, but all of it's going towards funeral expenses, so you're not actually gonna get a check of any money or anything. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm not expecting any money.
Right. Until
I open up a letter recently of you have unclaimed property of the amount of these several thousands of dollars. And I'm like, this is not a scam, but I am confused. So
yeah,
I checked with my uncle and he's like, yeah, no, you should have gotten a check months ago for this amount. I'm like, excuse?
Scusi.
Did I throw this away? Did I miss this opportunity? It all worked out in the end. I was able to fill out the form and get that unclaimed property. And I'm like, this is money that goes towards the cabin or towards my critters' financial funds. Because that's how I think now. Any money that comes my way, any chunk of money, as I'm like, this is going to Critter's savings. This is his college fund if he wants to do college.
You're not taking out life insurance policy on your
my infant son? No.
No.
I mean, maybe I should to apparently pay for the therapy that I'll definitely need if I ever lose him.
So
this guy is not Father of the Year.
Yeah, he definitely is not. So, on November 5th, 1974, Ronald Clark was arrested.
Can you imagine being the surviving sibling?
Yeah, Elizabeth? No.
Knowing that, my older brother was murdered by my father, who also tried to murder me.
Yeah.
For money.
Don't worry, I do have, a small happy ending for... I mean, not, big, but,
a relative for
relative
our podcast.
To this. Relative to everything that's happened so far. So Ronald's arrested, charged with the murder of Timothy Clark, and also indicted on 4 counts of attempted murder.
Thank you.
Good.
Again, that's attempted murder, and that's not even clearly labeled poison.
That's why it's attempted murder.
Maybe. Because it was subterfuge.
Yeah. So he pleads not guilty to all counts. So the prosecution pointed to Ronald's noticeable interest in cyanide poisoning in the months leading to the murder. He asked his chemist friend how much would be a fatal dose and how to purchase it. To which I would say, Shelton, please delete all of the texts that I've ever sent you.
I was about to say, I think that we need to just go ahead and use this as a blanket disclaimer.
I do text, before I ask him any question, I do text, like, the first text I say is, like, question for the podcast about poisons.
So, yeah, I feel like you and I should get, like, a blanket, you know, like a hall pass.
Yeah.
For anyone that we talk to or any, like, Google search history.
Search histories. Text
Like
to your pharmacist.
Free pass. Because anytime we're looking up, you know, causes of death and potential poison doses or whatever, this is all research for the podcast, not for our future crimes.
I did just think of a great plot for, like, a good Halloween movie for next year, though. Is, like, a podcaster who's, like, researching this stuff, and then, like, their significant other, like, dies, or someone close to them dies in that way, and then police are looking at them, and they're like, no, I was researching it for... Like, their significant other dies in the specific way of an episode they were just researching.
Have you seen the Hulu series Only Murders in the Building?
No, but I want to because I keep hearing such good things about it.
This is about a couple people who live in an apartment building decide to do a podcast about a murder that happens in their apartment building. But one of the podcasters actually does have a relationship with the victim.
Oh, I didn't know there's a podcast in it. I thought it was just a bunch of silly people like Martin.
It's not just Martin Short and Steve Martin being
and Selena
amazing
Gomez.
with Selena Gomez. I mean, she's okay, but you've got these two gems. No, I'm kidding. Selena's actually pretty good. I've seen the first couple of episodes, and it's pretty good. They're all fabulous, and the chemistry together. Like, you wouldn't think that this, you know, what is she, a Gen Z?
I'm pretty sure she's our age. Yeah,
she's not our age.
She's close to our age, isn't she? Hold on.
She's a solid 5 to 10 years younger than us.
Let's see.
No, she might just be like 4 or 5 years younger than us. I don't know.
Selena Gomez.
The reason I think she's younger is because she was on Disney Channel playing like a high schooler when we were in college. Okay, she's 3 years younger than me.
She's 2 years younger than me. Chris Evans.
That's right, because 41? I forget.
Gosh, Chris Evans. Sorry. Oh, Steve Martin's 77. Steve Martin. That noise was for Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Look at him.
Yeah.
He was the OG Silver Fox.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. What were we talking about?
That sweater.
I'm just gonna...
The Chris Evans, the sweater from, what is it? Knives Out.
Oh, yeah, with the whole... Ooh. Man. Oh. Just gonna... Okay. Alright, sorry. We're talking about a very sad thing. Oh!
It's not getting toasty in here. It's just the sweatshirt.
Alright, back to this...
I don't want to think about anything except dead children.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, so Ronald, the prosecution is like, Ronald was talking a lot about his interest. He talked to his chemist friend. He would talk to just friends and family about, like, oh, hey, did you know that it would take this much cyanide to kill a person? And they were like,
that's an oddly specific fact.
Weird.
See, despite my participation in this podcast, I don't share these facts with people.
I share the fun, cozy ones. You know.
I will sometimes say, like, we were doing a podcast and cyanide poisoning was a topic.
I'll probably share...
But I don't share fun facts of, you need at least this much cyanide to kill a human person.
I'll share I'll probably share, like, the sex stuff. Like... You know, with Jarek later as, like, fun facts. Like, hey, did you know what this thing is called? Okay. Ronald's sister-in-law testified that on the day of Timothy's funeral, Ronald talked about how he was going to spend the insurance money. Spoiler alert, he was going to spend it on vacations.
He murdered his son for a vacation.
He's like $500,000 in debt, Ronald. You should be at least
paying off
your debts, man.
I'm so angry.
Yeah. His wife testified that Timothy had not actually chosen the pixie stick as his candy of choice that night, and that Ronald had kind of like been like, hey, you can have one thing, but it better be the pixie stick. And then the defense's argument relied heavily on the urban legend of the, quote, mad poisoner, which was the idea of someone who just hands out candy laced with poison at Halloween. The press dubbed Ronald as the Candy Man. He was the first Candy Man. And on June 1st, 1975, a jury deliberated for 46 minutes before finding Ronald Clark guilty on all accounts, and he was sentenced to death.
Was he actually ever?
Yes, he was actually executed.
Okay. Because, I mean, just because someone was sentenced to death in 1975 doesn't mean they were actually ever executed.
I read something about his last meal, which was like...
Please tell me it was a pixie stick.
No, but it was one of those meal... I don't know. Sometimes I judge people by their last meal choices.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was something like, I don't know, it was like steak and mashed potatoes, and then like a salad and like roll. And I'm like, who's eating a fucking side salad as their last meal? It's your last meal. You don't have to have a salad with it.
Is it Mitch Hedberg that has the joke about if I ever got convicted of a crime or whatever and I had to choose my last meal, I would make it the McRib and the Shamrock Shake, because those two are almost never offered at the same time.
Oh my gosh. Our relative happy ending on this one is that Ronald's wife did divorce him, like, immediately. Oh. Yes. She did remarry, and her new husband adopted Elizabeth, her remaining daughter.
Again, like, I can't even fathom being the surviving child. Like, because, like, talk about survivor's guilt.
Oh, gosh, I know.
She's like, I chose to eat the Snickers tonight, while my brother chose to eat the pixie stick. Like, it could have... Yeah. It just came down to, what candy do you want to eat?
Yeah. Okay. Last one. Promise. Okay. 1982. You may look at your last thing, and then I will explain as we go.
There are too many photos on this page.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm going to explain it. Okay. So this happens in and around the Chicago area on September 29th, in 1982. Around 7 a.m., Mary Kellerman, who is 12 years old, wakes up complaining of a sore throat. And her parents are like, okay, you can stay home from school, take some Tylenol, and go back to bed. Her father says that he heard her go into the bathroom. He heard something drop onto the floor, and then he found her on the floor of the bathroom. They took her to the hospital immediately because she was unconscious, but she was pronounced dead upon arrival. At the time, doctors thought that she had perhaps suffered a stroke because they had no idea why she had just dropped dead, essentially.
How old was she again?
12.
I was about to say, 12-year-olds don't have strokes.
Yeah, they really don't. No.
Not healthy 12-year-olds.
No. Later that same morning, Adam Janis, who's 27, complained of some chest pain after dropping his daughter off at school. So he took 2 extra-strength Tylenol capsules and almost immediately collapsed in front of his wife. He was dead by the time paramedics arrived, and they thought at the time that it was a heart attack because he had been having chest pains. Mary Reiner, who's 27, she came home from the hospital that morning after giving birth to her 4th child, and probably because she had just given birth, she was having some discomfort, and so she...
As someone who has given birth.
Yeah, I hear that maybe, you're not, like, tip-top right afterwards.
Not ready to get up and run a marathon or anything.
Even,
I imagine even after number 4.
Yeah, so she takes some Tylenol.
I know this story.
I know, I'm sorry. And she ended up collapsing in front of her 8-year-old daughter that afternoon. By 3:45, she had been rushed back to the hospital where she died. Mary McFarland was 31. She was working at a phone center on that same day. At 4 p.m., she had a headache, so she took some Tylenol that she had in her purse, and within minutes, she collapsed at work and died. Possibly the worst part of this story is Adam Janis's family. After he dies very tragically at the hospital, his family goes back to his apartment to, like, be together and mourn. And his brother, named Stanley, who's 25, and his sister-in-law, Teresa, who's 19, both have headaches because being incredibly sad can sometimes give you headaches. And they take some Tylenol that they find in Adam's medicine cabinet. Stanley collapses first. He's foaming at the mouth. His eyes are rolling back in his head. Teresa calls 911, but by the time they get there, she is exhibiting the exact same symptoms. Paramedics noted that everything that happened to Stanley happened to Teresa a few minutes later. Stanley died at the hospital the same day, and Teresa died a few days later. And then Paula Prince, who is 35, is the only victim of this whole incident who didn't die on September 29th. She was found dead a few days after this in her apartment after police responded to a welfare check. And she was found in her bathroom with a bottle of Tylenol open on the counter. And police found a receipt showing that she had purchased the Tylenol on September 29th. If you haven't guessed, these are the Tylenol murders.
And this is why we don't have rubber stoppers anymore.
No, this is why we have sealed Tylenol or sealed medicine.
So I'm thinking
bottles.
of a different instance then.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Okay. I have this reference in our source notes, but or our sources, but there's a really good 2-part episode of Stuff You Should Know about this. This is the very abbreviated version. So this is 7 people who have died essentially in one day. Mm-hmm. Medical examiner Michael Schaefer tested the Tylenol from the first death and found, so he tested like the entire bottle, and he found that some of the capsules in that bottle contained 65 milligrams of cyanide. This is where my research started making me like super sad, because I started learning about how cyanide kills a person, which then retroactively made me like super sad about our last story. So cyanide kills you by attaching to a protein in your body, which basically prevents like other things from attaching to that part of your body. So it causes rapid cell death, starting with your brain, nervous system, and spinal cord. So, for example, oxygen can't be absorbed into your cells. So when people are dying of cyanide poisoning, they're often gasping for air, and they're breathing air in, but their body can't absorb the oxygen. Your heart keeps beating for several minutes. People or doctors or whatever think that you're probably conscious for at least a minute during all of this before you finally die. Cyanide has been outlawed in most states. Put an asterisk by that because I also got real sad looking up, trying to figure out if and when it was outlawed. In most states, as a form of capital punishment, this would be like the gas chamber, because it's considered cruel and unusual. If you want to be super sad, you can look into some cases. I think they might have all been in Arizona, about, like, gas chamber executions that basically went wrong, or, like, that were not, it's not quick and painless. Fun fact, Arizona is trying to get the gas chamber back into their lineup. Also, another fun fact that's not really fun is that cyanide gas was how the Nazis killed millions of Jews at Auschwitz camp. So within 36 to 48 hours of this incident of a bunch of people dying after taking Tylenol, a press conference was held announcing that there were tainted Tylenol bottles on the shelves and that everyone should stop taking Tylenol. And so this caused a bunch of people to call poison control, freaking out. And poison control had to tell people, like, hey, if you're calling us, you're okay. Essentially, like,
don't take the Tylenol.
If you had taken the tainted Tylenol, you'd be dead.
Yeah. I took it 3 days ago for a headache. You're fine.
Yeah, don't take any more, but like, if you've taken it and you're talking to me now, you're okay. Tylenol was being pulled from the shelves, like, not just in Chicago, but, like, literally across the world.
Full recall.
Like, global. The tainted capsules were found to have been manufactured in 2 different locations, and so police figured that the killer had to probably have tampered with bottles after they were put on the shelves. So they think that this person, like, bought them, tampered with them, and then put them back on the shelf. They did find a few bottles with cyanide in them that were still just hanging out on the shelves, like, just waiting to be purchased. To its credit, Johnson & Johnson issued a nationwide recall on October 5th, which cost them, in today's money, $280 million. Like,
I thought it would have been in the billions.
Yeah, and I will say that the second part of the 2-parter that Stuff You Should Know does on this is about, like, how Johnson & Johnson handled everything. Mm-hmm. And, like, obviously I'm not one to, like, talk good about, like, a big corporation, but, like, they actually did handle it really well. And it led to them implementing tamper-proof packaging that basically became industry standard for all over-the-counter medications. It's essentially why now when you get something, you have to, like, peel off that really hard-to-peel foil. Like, it's why there's... Seal. Yeah. It's why there's tamper-proof medication.
So, I mean, not only... You have to go through a cardboard box that's been glued.
Right.
So that's, like, your first line of defense.
Right.
And then you've got the child-proof lid, and then you've got the seal.
Right.
So the story that I had heard was essentially this same thing, but this was back when Tylenol was in glass bottles and had a rubber stopper in it.
Oh, okay.
And someone had taken a syringe and gone through the rubber stopper to insert, I forget what poison it was. It might have been cyanide. It might have been something else.
Yeah.
But that's how the poison was introduced.
Yeah.
But it could be this, but just told incorrectly.
Yeah. There were a lot of copycats
and it could have been
after
one of
this,
those,
which is, like, also horrifying. So this was right before Halloween that all of this happened. So on Halloween, lots of communities discouraged trick-or-treating. Obviously, this is, like, the one case where I'm like, yeah, maybe don't send your kid out.
Well, it seems like a bit of a stretch, though. Like, somebody's randomly poisoning medicine.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going to jump a month later? Because this was, like, September 28th or 29th, you said,
yeah,
right?
It was end of September.
So, a full month later, you've still got poison on the brain, sure, but that's medicine versus candy.
I think maybe they were thinking, like, if someone... Maybe people... Like, not that your neighbors were intentionally trying to poison your kids, but, like, perhaps someone had poison candy and your neighbor bought it. I don't know.
It's still a big stretch in my mind.
I don't know. The Tylenol murders have never been solved, and the best guess that investigators have is the mad poisoner theory, which is the same thing that Robert Clark's defense attorneys argued, which is unfortunate because, like you said, it almost never happens. Like, it's almost never that someone's just out there randomly poisoning people, because you're not, like, seeing those people die. Like, if there's some kind of gratification you're trying to get from watching someone die or whatever, you're not going to get that from being an anonymous, like, mad poison, you know, whatever. But, like, that is their best bet. But I have a conclusion that hopefully will make you feel better. Okay, so this is my conclusion to the thesis. While
Thesis.
I don't know even what the thesis was. While there have been some isolated cases of random mad poisoner scenarios, none of them occurred at Halloween with candy. The FDA has also now ensured that your Tylenol cannot be poisoned. And then also a study conducted by the Journal of the American Medical Association, which looked at data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Fatality Analysis Reporting System.
Oh my gosh.
I know. From 1975 to 2016, found that the relative risk of a pedestrian fatality was 43% higher on Halloween compared with control evenings, and that the highest level of risk was children between the ages of 4 to 8.
So are you trying to tell me, like, oh, you know, don't worry, your kid probably won't get poisoned. They're most likely going to get hit by a car. Is that your silver lining? Is that they're not going to get poisoned? They'll die of a car accident?
Let me rephrase it.
Okay.
Your biggest safety threat on Halloween is not poisoned candy. Statistically speaking, it is traffic-related injuries, which you can easily control by supervising your child, whatever. Your biggest poison-related threat is likely from relatives, so don't poison your child.
It's also adorable, BT dubs. You're like, because you can easily control, you don't have a kid. There's no control.
Okay, listen.
Mine is only not even 7 months and I can't control the thing. He does what he wants.
That's it. That's all I have. Is that if you're going to be poisoned, a relative's probably going to do it.
Yep.
And if you're going to get injured on Halloween, it will probably be from a vehicle and not from candy.
I actually did notice that statistic.
You did or didn't?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
That you were more likely to essentially get hit by a car on Halloween than get poisoned or, you know, razor blades in your apple.
Which makes sense because, like, you're out. There's way more kids walking around than there usually are.
And it's always after dark. Mm-hmm. So, and, you know, most people aren't super visible. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, now, you know, people are Halloween parties. So, coming home after drinking, even though they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, and also if you're going to get poisoned, it's most likely not just a relative, but it's most likely a woman. Yeah. You're most likely, like, refeed. Watch your drinks. Actually, no. I want to know what the actual statistics on that is, though, because it's one of those, like, adages, like, you know, poison is a woman's weapon. Mm-hmm. But
oh, you meant if you're most likely to get poisoned by a woman?
Yeah.
I don't know why in my head I was thinking you'd be most likely to be poisoned if you're a woman. I was thinking, like, get roofied.
That's why I was confused when you said roofies. I was like, well, actually, do you consider roofie a poison?
I would.
I mean, I've been roofied, and that felt like poison.
I mean, like, if you're getting a drug in your system without your consent. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Don't drink anything.
Well, I don't know, but, like, that kind of goes into the whole what defines poison. Is it something that's trying to kill you or something that's just trying to, like, maim you or make you sick?
In which case our wine in large quantities would be considered poison.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could kill us. Well,
we need a lawyer on the podcast.
Truly do. We need a podcast
We
lawyer.
need a lawyer and a psychologist.
Neither of which we can afford. It's totally fine.
Neither of which are we.
You want to do our socials real quick?
Yeah, so if you want to see some of the photos from my dossier and the articles, you can check out our Instagram or Facebook at the Tales We Tell podcast. If you want to see this stuff and pictures of things like the corndle or my badass sweatshirt. But you don't do the social media thing, you can go to our website. You can go to the taleswetellpodcast.com. If you'd like to support us, get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, you can check out Redbubble store, search the Tales We Tell. We've got a bunch of different logos, including the Murder Cabin logo. And if you want to support us without getting yourself some stuff, but except for maybe some, stickers, some early access, commercial free, also some bonus content, and some love notes from us periodically, you can become a patron at patreon.com. Search the Tales We Tell.
Yay! And next week's episode, since I'm ahead of the game, is not Halloween related. Sorry, but we'll get there. Next week's is a little... it's one of the other categories, and it's
unsolved mystery.
No, it's just other. It's like a murder. It's one that I wouldn't usually cover, but I listen to a really good podcast on it because I do that at work now. I listen to podcasts, and it's not going to be a kid safe one. So
sorry, Dante.
But I think it'll be good. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.